Welcome back to the CBDC Assets Group channel. Today's a good day. XRP is sitting at 124 above the 702 Fibonacci. Today we got Dan Pena talking about the greatest transfer of wealth the world has ever seen. Chris Larsen, David Schwartz, and the baby boomer transfer. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your family and friends to keep them informed.
$30 trillion. That's how much money is poised to transfer from aging baby boomers to their millennial heirs over the next few decades. This epic transfer of wealth creates a tall challenge: how to invest all that money. $30 trillion.
Now, what are you going to tell your kids and your grandkids 25 years from now when they say, "Gee, Daddy, gee, Grandpa, what were you doing other than having your thumb up your big fucking ass during the greatest transformation of wealth in the history of the world? What were you fucking doing?" Fuck all, nothing. That's what most of you will tell them, your grandchildren and your children. It's never going to get any better than this, kids. This is the, as I said on YouTube, the eye of the perfect motherfucking storm. This is it. I never thought I'd live to see it again. This is going to make the 80s look like a nursery rhyme, which I praise Allah, praise Buddha, praise God. I participated in slashing and raping everybody in the 80s, legally. This is going to make that look like a fucking nursery rhyme. And what are you going to tell your kids? Oh, I had to spreadsheet it. I had to think about it. I had to read another book on M&A, you fucking morons.
Chris, how would you describe what the Internet of Value is and what the sort of insight is to get us there?
Yeah, so a lot of it came from kind of the early work you guys did with pathfinding, and again, having this, anything of value can be traded. That kind of was the germ of it. But kind of stepping way back, if you look at the real problem in the world today, a lot of people point to globalization as being, not working for people. And we would say, no, it's not that it's not working. It's just it's a work in progress, right? It's incomplete. So it could have a real globalization needs interoperability in three core things, right? Data, goods, shipping, and money. And the problem is it only has interoperability in data, obviously the internet, and shipping since the 50s with the shipping container, which creates interoperability between port to other port, ship to train to truck. But you don't have that with money. Money networks don't interoperate. And if you have that, now billions of people are onboarded into a real working, kind of system of globalization. And that's upon us. I think that's really what we're trying to build here.
And I think the need is very, very evident now because you have companies that have very, very light infrastructure or none in the areas they serve.
If you talk to folks at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation who do a ton of work in the financial infrastructure, of the world, the big thing that they're trying to accomplish is to allow people to send as little as 50 cents, somebody in the developing world, if they're really going to be a participant in the global economy. And that's just impossible today, right? I mean, it's really even impossible to send $50 from the US to Europe without it being all chewed up in fees. 50 cents is just not on the table. But in a world now, this kind of Internet of Value, combining things like ILP and XRP, that is absolutely possible. That is, so frictionless and so fast, it completely changes the economics. And then beyond, those billions of people that need to send 50 cents, think about the trillions of devices and code that needs to be able to send, 10,000th of a cent. That is also enabled through what's going on here. So pretty exciting.
I think the vision is to be able to make an international payment as cheap and easy as pulling up a web page, like something that you would do without even thinking about the mechanics or the costs or who has to do what. It's just so automatic and so cheap and so scalable, and there's so many of them happening that it's almost invisible. You don't even think about doing it.
Yeah, almost like the value is moving with the data, just right on top of each other. And that is a world that we can have, but not with the infrastructure you have today. You've got kind of an internet world, kind of working with a pre-internet world of money, and those things are not lining up. So this is a big bottleneck for the world. If we can push through this, that's it. And again, blockchains are not the only answer. A subset of the solution, but the broader solution combines this kind of value interoperability protocols with a super fast and efficient digital asset, and then with some kind of mechanism for programming how that value moves around.
Welcome back. I love this story. The largest wealth transfer in history has begun. A new report shows ultra-high net worth individuals, people with assets of $30 million or more, will transfer nearly $4 trillion to the next generation by 2026. Brian Brenberg talking about this morning, and this is a big impact. A lot of money, movement, but how does that flow through the economy?
Yeah, it's about $4 trillion from ultra-high net worth individuals, but if you look in totality across the globe over the next 3 decades, it's more like $30 trillion,
wow,
moving from the baby boom generation to Generation X and millennials. How do you feel about millennials with $30 trillion? Does it make you feel good?
That's funny.
And the question is, you know, what, okay, so 30% of this wealth is liquid, basically. So this is money that they're going to be able to use at their own discretion. But most of it is actually tied up in ownership of private companies. And the question is, will these inheritors want to run these companies, or will you see a lot of business sales, public offerings of these companies, which would increase liquidity more? Most of the wealth that we're talking about here was self-made. In other words, this is first-generation wealth. They've never been through the transfer process before. That's going to be an issue as well, because a lot of the countries where you have these high net worth individuals, Germany, Japan, the U.S. have very high estate taxes, so a big take could be coming for the federal governments in these countries as well. So a lot of issues that both the inheritors and those passing on the wealth have to deal with, and in some cases they just haven't dealt with it.
Fascinating. I want to put this money into perspective. $3.9 trillion is enough to purchase the 10 largest companies in the world, including Apple, Microsoft, and Facebook, just to give you a sense of how much money we're actually talking about and what's being transferred. And you say that largely this money is in companies that the founders started.
Yeah, privately held businesses that they've run, and you know, the question is, does the next generation want to run them? And that's really not clear. And again, if it's not clear, then okay, who's going to buy these companies?
Yeah.
Who's going to run them? What are the public offering opportunities here? Big question.
And where does that money go?
Look, this is a good news story. It's great we've generated trillions and trillions of dollars of wealth, but we've got to have an environment that's conducive to continuing to invest and build that wealth.
And of course, Caitlin, you know, the fact is these people who are transferring this money, it's going to be dictated how they transfer it by tax policy. Exactly. You know, are they going to invest it? Are they going to donate it? Are they going to just pass it on? I mean, and that implicates what? Inheritance tax, you know, philanthropy tax.
Absolutely. It's a question about how you get this money moving. And also, I mean, this shows that how empowered this generation is financially, if you think about it, if they can get this money back flowing again. But regulations are a huge part of this, of course. And both sides are talking about it, but it hasn't really taken center stage. I think a story like this certainly should raise a lot of eyebrows of, okay, how do we get this going?
Because you want the money to move throughout the economy to move the needle on economic growth.
Exactly.
All right, we'll keep talking about this. Fascinating stuff. Still